Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallim ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Dear viewers, welcome back. And we're continuing our series of the soul of the tarbiyah. And we've gone through our 5 points. We're on the fifth one, which is very detailed and very profound. And possibly is the factor that determines how our children become thriving community members, global citizens as progressive Muslims who bring positive change in this world, who recognize their Lord and are able to bring that positive change. So once again, a short recap going through the previous points. The first one, as we all know, is al-muhabba wal-ma'rifa, the love and recognition of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second one is at-tashakhus wal-abdiyya, the identity of a Muslim, being a Muslim, identifying as a Muslim and as a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third is al-azama wal-hurma, having the regard, the reverence and the sanctity, the sacredness of Islam and the representatives, the symbols of Islam in our hearts, as well as in our expression. And the fourth one is al-ittiba' wal-ita'a, meaning making Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam the imam of our lives, our role model, the one whose footsteps we follow, the one who we let us lead towards success in this life and the hereafter. And the fifth one is al-ihtisab wal-aqiba, the consciousness and having the sense that I am responsible for my words and my actions and their consequences in this life and in the hereafter. I'm responsible, I am answerable for my words, my actions and their consequences in this life and in the hereafter. So as we had already covered part of this in previous videos, as far as introducing the ghaib, introducing Jannah and Akhirah and reward and punishment to our children, and then taqwa, that the realization that we have to protect, to save ourselves from the wrong, that Allah is watching and there are kiraman katibin, they're writing it down. We have a deceiving enemy, shaitan, so we have to be careful of our enemy, recognize our enemy and seek Allah's protection. And then we went ahead to cover this, and now we have answerability and respect for authority. This is another part of al-ihtisab wal-aqiba, that ourselves and our children learn, and they go through a process of learning respect for authority and the answerability towards law. Now, this is not only in the Akhirah, not only the law of Allah, but of the law of the land as well, because the law of the land is also the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as long as it's not in conflict with the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, for example, obeying traffic signals. If it's a red light, a Muslim is, it's wajib on him. It's his Islamic duty as a Muslim to stop at the red light, not cross through it, and abide by this law, because this law is made for the betterment of all Muslims and all humans, all community. So abiding by this law is incumbent upon this citizen. Now, particularly speaking about Pakistan, we as a nation do not have respect for authority, do not have respect for law. We're not law-abiding citizens as a general characteristic of a nation. And if you compare us to various other nations, I mean, you just move over to UAE or the Gulf, etc., and you see Qatar, Saudi, any of these Gulf countries where people do respect the law, whether they're the local citizens or they're foreign visitors or they're expatriates working over there. Pakistanis will go to Singapore and they will not throw trash on the street. They know that. But they will do the same thing in their own country. They will go to Germany and, for example, obey the don't walk and walk signs as pedestrians. But in Pakistan, they will not do that. So why is that? I thought really hard about this, and because as a life's experience, and I felt it's just the first thing. Of course, an easy answer is that law is not enforced. So law enforcement is an issue, but let's leave that to the side because that's not in our hands. What is in my hand as a citizen? Our children are not taught in any cultural or formal or informal setting, any social setting, any scholarly, any school setting, on how to obey law or how to respect law. This is not imbibed in our children. This is a reason that as a nation we suffer from this problem. Our entire education system lacks our entire education system lacks any curriculum that teaches children to respect law, respect authority, respect someone in uniform. What we see is that if someone has position or power or they have clout, then they can get away with it. Or if they can somehow buy the law to their own favor, then they can get away with it. So this cancer has absolutely consumed our society. And as such, we don't stand as law-abiding people. We're not known for that. So how do we reverse that? How do we fix that? That in our schools, and in our homes, we teach our children to respect the law, teach our children to respect society, teach our children to respect public property, for example. I mean, I'm having a big struggle, with people, just them having to understand that if it's not your property, you can't spoil it. If this table doesn't belong to you, you can't, vandalize it. You can't write on it. And for some reason, us as a nation, we have a difficulty even processing that. Why is that? Is that it's because we don't have the mechanism in our society, in our schooling, in our education, to actually teach being a law-abiding citizen or following rules and regulations. It's the macho thing or the cool thing or the what people of power and people of influence do is not obey the law. So yeah, we don't have role models either. People moving up in in other societies as they go higher in the social hierarchy, they become more law-abiding. They represent law, and they show to the public that this is how law is obeyed. So political leaders, other sorts of people who are celebrities or otherwise famous, otherwise followed, otherwise respected in society, they have a social standing. They will make it a point that we do not publicly do anything that is against the law, so that the entire nation is looking towards us. We serve as role models. We cannot lead a nation towards chaos and towards disorder, towards lawlessness. In Pakistan, it's the reverse. The higher up you go, it's even unfortunately political leadership, civilian leadership, military leadership, everyone thinks that the law is under them rather than we are under the law. So that also leads towards disobedience of Allah, because if you're not afraid of consequences in this world, then you become arrogant and you say, I'm not responsible for, I won't have to face any consequences in the akhirah either. So as we read in Surah Kahf, those two men, one of them who was gifted with a lot of wealth and gardens and farmland, and he was arrogant towards Allah. And what did he say? He said that I think this will last forever. All this talk about hereafter and hisab, I don't really believe in that. And even if I do face Allah, then what? If He's given me so much here, He'll give me much more there. So this sense of arrogance develops when we feel we are superior, we have more clout, we have more money, we have more influence. But this needs to be corrected. This needs to be corrected if we need to survive as a nation. And in general, among Muslims, this needs to be corrected. So moving on, this sense of law abiding, following rules and regulations, putting yourself under the law rather than above the law, and the understanding of reward and punishment, and the fairness and justice in reward and punishment. You see, children, they take a lot of effect from this when there's no justice. They can sense that. And the first thing a child will say, it's not fair. How many times have you heard a child say that? It's not fair. Because they can sense fairness, they can sense justice, or the lack of fairness, or the lack of justice. So it's very important for us, murabbis, as adults, as parents, as teachers, as trainers, as mentors, to be just. And that's how they will learn justice. And there should be a process, due process. Everyone should know there's a due process. They will get a chance to explain themselves. They will get a chance to present their evidence. Their witness will be taken seriously, and law will be processed, and accordingly they will be dealt with. This making them go through due process is very important. Curtailing that or shortchanging that process of the law will cause them to disrespect the law. It will cause them to distrust the law and adults and the society in general. So that's not going to help. The other thing that we talk about when we say consequences of actions and words, al-ihtisab al-aqiba, is social responsibility and stewardship. I love this word stewardship. This is Dr. Dawood Tawhidi's interpretation of Khilafah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent us in this world as His representatives, as His khulafa. So we are, every human being, every Muslim is Allah's Khalifa upon earth, Allah's representative. And the word Dr. Tawhidi used is His steward. So we have this sense of stewardship that I have to take responsibility. I'm not only responsible for myself, but I'm responsible for the society around me, for the world around me. So social responsibility is attached to Khilafah, being Allah's Khalifa. So the concept that when we reinforce the role of the Khalifa for every human being, for every Muslim child, then they realize that we are here to serve Allah. We're here to ensure that Allah's law and Allah's balance and the system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see run in this world of justice, of peace, etc., is implemented. So the social responsibility among children, how do we make children socially responsible? What domain do we hand over to them? Because obviously you can't hand over the government of the country to them. How do you introduce social responsibility and khilafah or stewardship to a Muslim child? Well, the first step is maintenance of the environment. And that's why the Montessori method, when Maria Montessori, she strongly connects a child's responsibility towards the environment. And the environment is made by people. It's a learning environment. It caters towards learning. So maintenance of this environment, ensuring respecting learning material, as we said back in Al-Azama wal-Hurma, that learning material is sacred. It should be respected. Rules are important. So there's freedom within limits. You're free in this environment, but there are limits in this environment. So you have to maintain those limits. You have to respect those limits. You have to enforce those limits. So then peers enforce it upon each other. That's how society functions. So children learn how to implement laws, implement rules within the environment, and maintain the environment, maintain its cleanliness, maintain its sound levels, for example, maintain its rules and regulations. So that is the first step of teaching social responsibility to a child, teaching khilafah to a child. The second is maintenance of discipline. So the child realizes it's my duty, it's my responsibility as a human being and as a Muslim and as a Khalifa of Allah to ensure that discipline is maintained here. That not only am I following rules, others are also following rules. So, and not only am I lining up, others are also lining up. So this creates a culture, and then it makes it easy for everyone to obey and for everyone to follow rules and regulations and bring order and wellness to society. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's barakat come. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَىٰ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. So Allah's barakat come down upon such people when they have iman, they have taqwa, they ensure that everyone in their society, Ahl al-Qura, the people of the communities, they all ensure that they are obeying Allah and others are also obeying Allah. And then maintenance of relations. So we said maintenance of environment, maintenance of discipline, maintenance of relations, maintaining relations, keeping relations. So strengthening relations. That's what our deen teaches us. Silatul Raham, with our parents, with our siblings, but also maintaining relations with those you spend the rest of the day with your teachers, with your peers, with your friends and your fellow students. So those relations need to be maintained. You might get upset at someone, you might have a fight with someone, but then you have to come together. You have to learn to let go and embrace and remove differences, find common ground. That is all part of being socially responsible. It's all part of being a Khalifa. It's all part of being the steward of Allah. And then the fourth thing is leadership. So teaching our children leadership, and that's how they will become leaders when they're given some domain to ensure order and ensure discipline, ensure maintenance of what is khair. So give them that opportunity. Give them the opportunity to lead, and they learn leadership, and they learn how to help others. Now, leadership in Deen is service leadership. We'll talk about leadership at some other point. But the prophetic model, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's model of leadership is to serve. As he says that Ra'isul Qawmi Khadimuhu, that the leader of a people is their servant, is there to serve them. So service leadership is something that we get from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not to be on the forefront, not to get all the claim and the fame, not to get all the credit, but to get our ajr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this selflessness is essential for leadership. Leaders Eat Last, a very, very good book by Simon Sinek, helps us understand leadership and service leadership from a more secular context. But ultimately, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Khulafa Rashidin are the absolute, epitome and paragon of service leadership. But it's not only, they're the ideals and the role models, but being a leader in the smallest things. The way we define leadership at Unity, at our school, is the willingness and ability to take initiative. The willingness and ability to take initiative. So if a person is willing and able to take an initiative to bring that positive change, they're a leader. So let people take initiative and give them a chance to take initiative. Give them a space to take initiative. They will become leaders in their own right. Everyone will not be a leader. Everyone will not be a leader. If everyone's a leader, then there are no followers. Yes, there might be different leaders in different scopes. So you distribute leadership, where in some area someone can be a leader, in another area another's a leader. So there are no absolute leaders, but some are going to follow, and that's okay. If my child is not a leader, it's okay. As long as my child is taking initiative, as long as my child is bringing positive change, that's leadership defined. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our children stewards of Allah, leaders and bringers of positive change, law-abiding citizens who are conscious of rules and regulations and conscious of their responsibility towards society, make them the keys to the khair and locks to the shar.